and here we are for Husky Hoops. I am your host, the best podcast host in the universe, Steve Cully. And with me, as always, she is Uconn women's legend, Western Connecticut State University head coach, part-time model, part-time carpenter, and LPGA golfer, Maria Conlon.
Morning. What's up, Joe?
LPGA golfer. When did that start?
I'm not LPGA.
She golfs.
I started last summer. Let's put it this way. I can get through 9 holes and not lose a ball. That gauges.
Well, I can't say that. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
She's a natural golfer. And then, of course, the icon, legendary voice of the Huskies, the best of the best himself, Joe D. Great to see you.
What's up? What are you laughing about? What's Chris D saying now?
He just said that Gino surfaced. That's all he was talking about. Because his concern, Maria, was Uconn didn't seem very active in the transfer portal for the women, but you had mentioned that they probably have a good freshman class coming in. You know specifically of anyone they have?
I mean, they have a really good they have one of the top players in the country coming in, yeah.
That's right. That's what I figured. So that was one of the pieces that they were looking to add, and they have obviously one of the best players in the country coming back as well. But were you concerned at all that they weren't as active in the portal?
I mean, listen, the portal is, we all know, first of all, that the portal's hit or miss. We've had some success in the portal, and we've had some not success in the portal. So I think it's got to be
true.
You know, it's got to be the right fit. There's a lot of kids in the portal right now. You know, I know we're in conversations with some. We haven't had any officially commit yet, but I don't think that means that they're not active in the portal.
Right.
So I think that's a fair assessment. But we haven't announced that anybody has committed. So
no, you're correct. They have 15 days to announce to enter the portal, but they can sign at any time before the season starts. Joe, what were your thoughts on the women as far as the portal goes?
None. They'll get who they get, and they'll be great no matter what.
They don't really need anything else. Yeah. And with the freshmen they have coming in and the pieces they have.
Exactly. What a novel idea. Build your program through players that you've recruited. Wow. When did that start?
No, I agree. I agree. It's just not commonplace anymore. That's the big concern, is that you develop someone and then they leave on you. So,
well, if a kid leaves UConn, it's not going to be for more money. It's going to be because they don't get playing time. Everybody who's left has left because they've got playing time. And
yes.
I don't know, Maria. Tell me if I'm wrong. You can count on 2 fingers the amount of kids who have left UConn and prospered anywhere else.
Yeah, whoa, Elena Deladon.
I don't even count her because she never.
You can't even count her because she never even.
Right. I don't count her because she never set foot on campus in once school started.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
That's it. I can't think of another one. Can you?
Nope. No. Everybody who's left has kind of faded into the woodwork. So
no. And UConn added 4 to 5 really or 4 good players that should contribute immediately next year in the portal for the men. And the concern is the witch from South Carolina is stockpiling talent. I don't know if she's necessarily doing that. Thank you.
Oh, she is.
Oh,
yeah,
how many?
You know what? That disturbs me that we would use that phrase talking about somebody else. She's not a witch. She's a competitor. Give me a break.
She is stockpiling. She is stockpiling.
You know what? Some of these people should look in the mirror when they call people names like that.
How many transfers have they brought in?
I think they have 2 or 3, Joe. I mean, the big one that they got.
You know what? I don't know, Maria.
Well, you know what? I can't even say that. One of them was not even a transfer. What happened was Olivia Edwards, Big O, who's one of the top seniors in high school this past year. She could dunk the ball with ease. I actually coached her in an all-star game last summer. She was supposed to go to Tennessee, and when Tennessee lost their entire roster, she decommitted, and she ended up committing to South Carolina. So she's not technically a transfer. No. She's never played a game at Tennessee. Listen, South Carolina will be loaded next year. You know, I mean, it is what it is.
No, absolutely. Joe, for the men, they added four players.
And two freshmen, so it's 6 in all.
And the two freshmen that are coming in. So that's a pretty big group for basketball to bring 6 in.
Well, not compared to other schools, it's not, Stevie. Look what Michigan did. You know
what did Michigan do?
Well, the year before last, they brought everybody in and won a national championship.
Well, no, I know they brought 5 transfers, and I'm just saying for a basketball class to bring in 6 guys, I thought would be high.
But you're not hearing what I'm saying. That's exactly what Michigan did. That's what all these schools do now.
Right. So that's what you have to do to be competitive in this climate. The kid they brought in from Walford, Central Florida, Nils, I think his name is Niles. I don't want to say his name wrong. He is a
Let me hear you pronounce the last name, because I guarantee you got that wrong.
Machowski?
Milhovsky.
Okay.
Milhovsky.
Oh, okay. Well, I listen. I pronunciation and enunciation is not my strong suit. Nigel Hines was the 6'10". Najai Hines, the 6'10" kid from Seton Hall.
All right, so you're 0 for 2.
Oh, I'm going to be 0 for 3. The kid from Duke, Nicholas Kamenia. Okay. There we go. Kamenia.
Not Ka. Ha.
Ha-menya. Oh, the K is silent.
And I'm going to save you on the last one because you'll never get it. Oscar Hilte.
Wow.
Heel. See, heel as in wrestling heel.
Joe, that's why they pay you the big bucks. And
because I looked it up. That's why, because I didn't want to sound stupid.
Well, I have it looked up too. I just didn't know the pronunciations of them.
Yeah, but you never mind. I'll talk to you off air.
Oh, there's a way they tell you how to pronounce it. Okay.
Well, yeah, it's called going to the school. They were at media game notes and looking for the pronunciations.
Oh, and it tells you how to sound it out to pronounce it.
Right. Too many sloppy play-by-play people don't do that.
Oh, okay. So you just gave me a little tip. Out of the 4 that they brought in, who do you think is going to have I mean, it's ridiculous to even say it, but who do you think can make an immediate impact?
Well, I think they're hoping Hines and Hamenya.
Yeah.
Those are the two. Hines replacing Terrace and Hamenya replacing Alex.
Those were the two positions that they needed filled most.
Hilte is Eric Ryba, and Mahovsky is Malachi Smith with a better shot.
Right. And they were good additions. They weren't cheap additions. And then they have a good freshman class coming in. The two freshmen. What are your thoughts on them?
On the freshmen?
Yeah, the 2 freshmen.
I know nothing about them. I'm trusting that the Uconn coaches have done well. I mean, look, the reviews are that these kids can play. County is a combo guard, 6'5". Landrew is a wing from Alabama who played in Georgia. In this press release, they called him. I have no idea, Maria, what this means. Explain this to me. It says he's an ascendant prospect. What does that mean?
A what prospect?
Ascendant. ASCENDANT.
Holy shit. We have like 1,000 people watching right now live.
Hi. Learn how to pronounce the names.
Yeah, so I'll do better. Yeah,
no,
Maria,
not you. I mean them.
Maria, what are your thoughts?
It means rapidly rising in potential.
That's what I was going to say. They have high potential.
Yeah, I mean, I figured that's what it was, but I had never seen that before.
Yeah, it's a creative way to describe that he is someone that's going to need to develop to an extent.
Thank you. Perfect.
Yeah, development. Maria, what were your thoughts on the 4 transfers that UConn brought in?
I mean, I feel a little weird we got a Duke guy, but I'm like,
everyone said that.
It's just random to hear that. Like, 15, there's just 2 totally different types of universities. But I mean, listen, I think they've done, Hurley and his team has proved that they can go to the portal. They can pick up guys that they know can make an impact. I mean, he's done it the last couple of years. So I trust in what they see and what they've brought in. I think, yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I think they picked up some pieces, to Joe's point, that kind of fit what they're losing. So we just got to see how it plays out. I mean, we all know, let's not expect these guys to come in on day one and start, blowing it out right away. They got to adjust to his system and his culture, just like they would anywhere else. But I think we know this is a much different culture to have to adjust to than the normal run of the mill. And I think we got to be patient, and it'll take a little time, but, yeah, I mean, I think we have some pieces to make another deep run if everybody can stay healthy again.
And Christy, I was sloppy, so I was 100% sloppy, so that's okay. The other thing is the chemistry and the culture, especially at UConn, is different from other schools. It's not typically a school you can come in and 1 year get assimilated right away and understand it. I mean, it's built over time. Do you think, how quickly can these guys, the transfers, come in and, buy into some of the culture at UConn, the defensive standards, the team culture that Hurley's built?
Oh, I disagree with that completely. Look, you can't. UConn's not doing anything different than any of these other programs are. You can't tell me the culture at Duke and Michigan and North Carolina and Arizona. I mean, as much as I love what Dan has done at UConn, let's not make it seem like this is the only place that does that. Demery came in, he fit in right away. Terrace Reed took a little bit longer, but he fit in. You tell me Mullins didn't assimilate himself right away?
So he was a true freshman, but yeah.
Yeah, but that's the same thing, Steve. It's the exact same thing. It's a newcomer to the program. So this idea. Look, again, this is not being critical, but to me, it's a point. All the high-level programs do this all the time. So now let's not make it seem like they're coming to a place that's reinvented the way that the game of basketball is played.
No, they're not at all. They're not at all.
Well, and I think too, to that point, because I tend to agree with Joe on this. Like, I think it's harder as a freshman to come in and assimilate than it is as a transfer. So, they've been able to assimilate freshmen pretty quickly. I think if there's one positive from the transfer portal, right, is that the college grind that you experience at a Duke or at a Seton Hall is similar to the grind that you're going to experience at UConn, right? These coaches are high intensity practices that everything's really, really demanding. So I think all of that stays the same. I think the only 2 differences that I see is I do think Hurley is more demonstrative than a lot of coaches out there, which I do think can take some adjusting to. But you got to know that going into it. If you're a transfer, you've seen Hurley in the news and in the media. You know what he's like. So if you're willing to leave your school to go be a part of that, I would assume that you're going to be ready for that. And I think the second part, and maybe not the Duke kid, because I think you have some of the same expectations there that you do at Connecticut. I think more from a fan media perspective, that the bar is set much higher at UConn than it is at some of the other places that these guys are coming from, maybe with the exception of Duke. So I do think that that's an adjustment of you're living in a much different fishbowl in stores than you are in some of these other places. And
totally correct. Totally correct.
I think that takes a little bit of time. But again, these aren't 18-year-old guys graduated in high school. These are guys who've played at a high level already that are just coming in to try to play at a higher level than they already were.
You know, you made your analogy, Maria, is 1,000% right. That these kids know exactly what they're getting into, and I always reference back to the facts when people would go to men's games and sit by the bench and be taken aback by Jim's language. Have you watched the games?
That was my favorite thing to do, by the way. I used to love sitting behind the bench and listening to him.
Have you seen what's going on? Do the kids know more? The kids knew exactly what they were walking into. These kids who come to play for Danny, they know they know the practices are going to be intense as all get out. Okay, they know the media scrutiny, though not as great as when you played, because there's not anywhere near as many newspapers. Is going to be bigger than anywhere maybe other than Duke. Okay, these are not. Again, it's freshmen who will have a harder time getting used to everything.
Yeah.
Right.
But when they recruit these kids, they recruit kids who they think can handle it. They're not recruiting somebody who's namby-pamby and not going to be able to put up with intense practices
you can't be soft. You want to be
no.
You can't be soft.
I was going to use a different word that wouldn't be appropriate on this program.
Yeah. I think soft, and I don't even mean physically. I'm not even talking about physically.
No, it's all mental.
You got to have mental toughness.
And listen, like I think the last point on that, in terms of knowing what, yes, there was more newspapers and media back then, like from Joe's perspective, but social media, these kids have access to exactly what Dan Hurley's like, right? Yep. You can go on the internet. You can find clips of him getting teed up. You can find clips of him yelling at managers in practice. That information is all out there. So you have that. If you're a college student or even a high school kid, you have access to all that stuff. And you're either saying, I like this guy. I want him to push me to be my best. I'm not soft. I can handle it. Or you're not. And
my assumption
is these guys have done that homework. If not, then obviously they're going to be in for a whirlwind when they step to stores. But my assumption is they've done their homework. Hurley's done his homework. He knows these kids aren't soft. He knows what they're going to get into and that they're going to be fine.
And I'm going to say this without any justification, because it's a podcast and that you can do that on this. I will say at least one of the kids who left the men's program couldn't handle the scrutiny.
Well, that was the other thing I was going to say. The retention for both programs. The men lost Ryba and was it Ross or Stewart?
Stewart.
So,
Stewart I was surprised by. I was not surprised by Ryba.
No, I wasn't surprised by Stewart either, because I figured fourth year he wanted to go play somewhere. Yeah. And look, he went to a good program at SMU, so he'll do fine.
Yeah. And Ryba, we all kind of saw he was going to take more time to develop. But especially with the guys that they brought in, he was going to be in a battle for playing time.
Well, but if he hadn't left, but Stevie, that's not right. Because if he hadn't left, they wouldn't have brought the heel take it in.
You don't think they would have brought him in at all?
No way. No, you don't need three centers.
They would have gone with him. Okay.
Yeah, no question.
But yeah, I mean, I don't think he was ready for prime time. And
here's the thing on that. I'm going to disagree with you. Because when Reed was hurt early, Ryba played really well. Ryba regressed.
He played great.
Ryba, instead of improving his game like Jaden Ross did, Ryba went backwards.
Yeah, when the tournament came, he really didn't do much. And Maria, what were your thoughts on that with Ryba in his season and then him deciding to leave immediately?
Yeah, I think Joe's spot on. I think he played well in pockets. Could he have developed to be a major contributor at UConn? If he wanted to be, yes. I think, I think there's one thing that we don't talk about enough, and that's capable versus willing are two very, very different things, right? Is he capable of growing into the player that everybody thought he could be? I don't think there's a question there, else he wouldn't have recruited him to begin with. But the capable of dealing with it and the expectations and all of that. Listen, sometimes the lights are a little too bright for people. And, when the lights are bright, you get exposed a little bit. And sometimes you take a look internally. And I think, so the willingness to be that player, maybe he lacked that a little bit. Like, man, do I really want to be pushed this hard?
Yeah.
Do I really want to be held to this extremely high standard every day? And I think maybe when he looked in the mirror, the answer was no. So, could he have been that? I agree with Joe. I think he could. I think he showed a lot of spots this year where he was able to, and I think he showed some where he wasn't. But, at the end of the day, if you're not willing and capable of doing, they're willing and capable are just two very, very different things.
And the other thing we don't take into account, guys, is all the people who are chirping in these kids' ears.
Yeah.
They're AAU coaches, they're street advisors. Maybe some of them have social media advisors, that kind of thing. People are chirping in their ears saying, oh, you can go play somewhere else and be the center of the offense, or you can play 25, 28 minutes per game and stuff. So that's another thing. And like when we were talking earlier about the differences now, I hadn't even thought of this. I mean, social media back in the day when Maria played, or, early in my time of doing the games, there was no social media. Nobody got on Twitter. Nobody got on Facebook. I mean, hell, let's be honest. If there was Twitter and Facebook while Conlon was playing, she would have been a movie star long before she did now.
Yeah, no, exactly. But for the most.
So before we move on to this whatever you're going to go do next, I think that there's one thing that we should dive into that I do think is going to affect recruiting, scholarship spots, etc. moving forward, and that's the 5-5 rule that was passed last week, Joe.
Yes, no question.
And so for the listeners or the viewers that don't understand what that rule is basically the NCAA came out and said, starting with this year's junior class, so it doesn't apply to the ones that were seniors, but if you were a junior this year, you have 5 years to do 5 years. Now,
and they put an age limit on it too, I believe.
Well, your clock starts when you hit a certain age, right? Which 19, on the men's side, I don't see this as being as big of a deal. Because a lot of these guys that are really, really good aren't staying 4 years. Forget about 5 years. That sounds insane to me, right? Like the Alex Caravans are few and far apart. But I think what it's going to do is between the portal and the 5-5, I think we're going to even see another condensing of programs in disparity because, if a kid decides to stay 5 years, it's not like you're getting an extra scholarship spot. You still have the same amount of scholarships. And now maybe that stud who's a senior in high school, you can't keep him if this guy's staying 5 years. Like I said, I think more on the women's side, it'll be affected than the men's side because you got a lot of guys not staying. I think it's a smart rule for the athletes because we all know that most student athletes don't have the capability to balance it all and graduate in 4 years. So that gives them the opportunity to play another year if they want to. It also is way less paperwork for the NCAA. Now they don't have to worry about, red shirts and waivers and medical this, medical that. You got 5 years to do 5 years, done. How do you guys feel about that?
I totally agree. I think it'll have more of a negative impact, and Steve can correct me if I'm wrong, in football because we've seen guys in their sixth or seventh year, like Joe Fignano, like Johnny Unitas at Uconn, right? Was a 7 year.
Seventh year.
Right. So I think I agree with you. I don't think it's going to affect the men because, as you said, Maria, if you're good, your ass is going to think you can go to the NBA, or you might end up in the G League or Europe or whatever. Women's basketball, I think maybe because of the injuries sometimes seem more prevalent. I think it's a good rule. Give them 5 years to go 5. But I think like in other sports, I don't think it's going to matter. But I think football, it'll have a bigger impact.
I think football and women's basketball, I see it impacting the most. And the only reason why I say it with women's basketball, and your point with the injuries is valid. But I also think like it's now, instead of having a lag of 4 years on a scholarship, Now you have 5, which doesn't match up with high school, right? So if you're in high school for 4 years, you're going to graduate. Now, of course, kids reclass nowadays. Kids are going to high school for 5 years, et cetera, et cetera. But it's not matching up. So there's going to be a lag there of a year where there's going to be some of these top programs that just don't have any scholarship room on the roster.
No.
So you can't
Well,
bring
but I will correct you one thing. Back in my day, there were some kids who went to high school for 6 years, but not of their own free will.
Yes, very true.
But now we see the reclass thing. So, I mean, listen, I'm really interested to see how it's going to change the landscape because, like I said, with that lag of the extra year, you are going to miss out. I think some of maybe not the top, right? Because UConn will figure it out and South Carolina will figure it out, et cetera, et cetera. But like that next level, it may help them a little bit. And the reason why I say that is because maybe some of those top seniors will now trickle down to that next level of major or school that they probably would have been higher than if there wasn't a lag and there were more scholarships. And then you take the whole portal thing into account because that's already taken up scholarship spots of seniors coming out of high school that, are good enough to go certain places, but there's just not enough room. So I think it'll be interesting. I think it's going to shake things up. I thought about the football thing because a lot of freshmen who come in for football, if you're not like an immediate stud, typically you were redshirting a year anyways, right?
That's how it used to be. Now, instead of taking kids and redshirting them, they'll take someone from the portal. That's why the portal, I mean, you're seeing 30, 40, 50 transfers coming in per year instead of taking freshmen and developing them. And it's also because coaches are getting paid. They went over a couple schools. God, I can't remember the school. We were just talking about it, where like Texas A&M, they're still paying Jimbo Fisher, the football coach who got fired. $70 million. His buyout was, and you're seeing schools like Rutgers, $78 million in the hole. And they're raising tuition, student fees to cover that because they have spent money on transfers for football, basketball. The men's basketball team, I guess, was supposed to be really good this year, and they flopped. And football, the head coach just announced this is his last year because he can't deal with it anymore. And he really built the program. But for football, 5 for 5 is going to be tough because I still think that there's going to be people who go the route of the lawsuit and challenge it. And medical red shirts still apply. So if you get hurt, you can still technically medical red shirt. But we'll see what happens.
But won't that go into the 5 for 5?
It will, but they're gonna say they'll file like an antitrust lawsuit. They'll try to challenge it. Like
I hope they lose.
Yeah,
rules are rules. Let's go here. Come on.
A majority of them have lost this past year, where the NCAA had traditionally lost. This year they won many more lawsuits than they lost. So as far as the retention, I thought that was a big thing, especially for the women. I mean, you're playing for one of the top teams in the country. They have a lot of talent, Maria, like you said, with the depth. And, the women were happy with the minutes they got, and nobody really left, or nobody has gone into the portal. And there were, I heard.
Well, Ice Brady did.
She did for sure. Okay, I didn't know that. That's who I heard was going to enter. But their retention rate was very good, and even for the men, only losing 2 players, I thought was good. Do you think that the NIL and rev share made a difference as far as boosting some of the players' pay to keep them in place, especially with Mullins?
Oh yeah, I think that was a bit.
Yeah.
Well, but Mullins wasn't going to transfer. Mullins had no idea.
He was either going to go to the league or he was going to stay.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. It wasn't.
Right.
It was. He wasn't going to Duke or Michigan or anywhere like that.
But we retained him, is what I'm saying. We retained him because we paid him.
No, we retained him because they paid him, but he also needs another year. He's
I
not
agree.
a dope. He understands he's not physically ready for the NBA. That he would be another Liam McNeely or Andre
100%.
Jackson or
one of the smarter decisions that we've seen a kid at UConn make in a while.
Exactly.
I think, because, I mean, and listen, maybe if Liam didn't leave and it happened the way it did for him, maybe we wouldn't see Mullins back this year. But I think if you're smart and you kind of see the landscape of what's going on, I wouldn't be surprised if he stays 2 more years.
Yeah,
no, I'd be surprised at that, Maria. I think 1 more year.
I don't know. I mean, listen, only if he puts on weight, Joe. Like, he's just still. I don't know. I mean, for me, unless you're like the only guard that I've seen that's been like that skinny and small coming out of college that tears it up is like Steph Curry. He's not Steph Curry. I think that it would benefit him to stay another year. I'm not saying that he will, but like.
Well, SGA's not exactly a bruiser, and he's done well.
But I'm saying they're different players. I'm saying like pure shooter, kind of like Curry is. That's how I see Mullins at the next level. SGA is a 3-level scorer and all that other stuff. But like, I just think he's making enough money here at UConn. You can bulk up, add some things to your game, and maybe be a much higher draft pick a year or 2 from now. Get a degree, maybe. Like, it just makes sense. I mean, these kids are making enough money now.
And he's not just going to make money for the revenue share. He's going to make money through NIL.
Yeah.
I mean, he's going to get. He had a card thing last year.
Exactly.
I've already seen a couple of things where he's made appearances. These kids ain't making appearances out of the goodness of their heart. They're making it. They're making it for their wallet.
Joe, just the shirt that they have of him shooting the ball.
Yeah.
At the end of the game, he's probably made hundreds of thousands of dollars just on that shirt alone. I mean, I see that shirt everywhere right now.
No question.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. I definitely another year he needed. I would say for me, I would say 2. Obviously, you risk injury or something happening, but I don't know. I just don't see him being able to go into the NBA even a year from now and make a major impact. I mean,
I agree. I mean,
I don't know.
I never expected a first-round draft pick to end up playing in the D League, but the G League. But that's what's been happening now. Your thoughts, Joe? Solo Ball, the news that he is going to miss the year and take a medical red shirt.
Well, as I said on the baseball podcast the other day, I think we all owe Solo Ball a huge apology because we were all questioning why can't he shoot, this and that. Kid played hurt all year,
and he
gutted it out because he thought this team had a chance to win the national championship. The fact that he's going to miss a whole year shows the severity of the injury and the delicacy of the surgery. So good for him. Everybody who's around him says he's a real honorable kid, and if he says he's coming back for his senior year in 27, 28, then he'll come back. So I think that's, what, God bless him. I mean, he really worked this past year and became a better player, even though he was battling through an injury. And I think him being around will help in a leadership role with all these new guys coming in.
Yeah, and he was the team's leading scorer before going into the tournament. So 100% he did. Maria, what were your thoughts on him doing the medical red shirt, getting the surgery, and knowing the severity of the injury he was playing through?
Listen, I think it's a mature decision. And I love when I see college guys make mature decisions. I think, kudos to him for playing through it at the end of last year. Because, listen, he didn't have as good of a year this past year as he did the year before, right? from an offensive perspective. I think he was a little bit, volatile in terms of what we got from him every night. But we wouldn't have gone to the national championship game this past year without him. And listen, I like his game. He seems like a really good kid, well-spoken. So I think, again, why not stay, further your education, make some money in the meantime, rehab, and come back and have a full year where you're healthy to put your name on the map for the next level.
Exactly. And he'll be on the bench every game at every practice.
Well, I probably can't travel. I'm not sure if he can travel. Let me just go back to one other thing that we were talking about, because I wanted to get a thought in. And when we were talking about retention, I think it's a different story with the men and the women's program. There are other programs that are at the level of the men's program. There may be one or two other programs that are at the level of the women's program. So if kids leave the women's program, it's only because they're not playing. It's not because they're an upper echelon player looking to go somewhere else. So I think the retention thing is not as much of a factor with the women's program, because they're already at the mountaintop.
They are. Where else? I mean, yeah.
I think that's a big thing. And one other thing that I want to get into on the basketball standpoint, and we've seen a couple of the women's non-conference games come out, but remember how the men played that really ridiculously tough schedule early in the year?
They did
last year. Well, it's almost the exact same. It's Arizona, it's Illinois, it's Duke, it's Kansas. That's the same. Adding Duke. That's the same schedule. That's a monster schedule, especially for a team that'll be trying to integrating 4 new pieces into the puzzle. When they did that last year, they weren't trying to integrate four new players. They were trying to integrate Mullins, Ryba, but not much. Smith, Demery, and Smith, but they were veterans. So I think, God bless them. And the other thing we're waiting to hear, Maria, who's going to be the new assistant coach? We haven't heard anything on that front.
Right.
I'm kind of surprised that they haven't made an announcement yet on who that new assistant on the men's staff will be.
Yeah, I'm surprised, and I'm not surprised. The only reason why I'm not surprised is this is not an easy guy to replace. So, and I think Hurley's probably going to try to find as close as possible as he can to what he had with Luke. I don't think he's going to find it, because I think Luke is exceptional.
Yes.
But it's just not an easy guy to replace from a relationship perspective, from an analytics perspective, from a relationship. It's going to be tough. And I think he's going to take his time on that. And I'm sure, listen, I want to think that he's being flooded with resumes, but he might not be, because listen, for the same reasons why it might be a deterrent for players to want to come and play for him because of his demands and his demonstrativeness. He's just as hard with his, if not harder, with his assistant
on the coaches.
I would guess is even harder with the assistants.
But I mean, so this is, and like I said, is not an easy guy to replace. And let's not forget too, he's also probably spending a lot of time in the portal and in the recruiting aspect too. He might not be spending as much of time on a new assistant coach right now. That would be my assumption.
So, Joe, I mean, with all due respect to Luke Murray, do you think that he can make a difference at Boston College for their basketball program?
If he gets support, yes. If he gets the support of the administration, that's what it's all about.
Yeah,
they need to pour a boatload of money into that program there.
Yeah, they do.
Are they willing to do so? Football. That's the question. They had to make him, put it this way, they had to make him promises to get him to leave Uconn. Absolutely.
That's the first question coaches ask now.
Right. So, yes, I think he can make a look. Are they going to be on a consistent level as good as Duke, North Carolina, whoever else, UCLA and USC are in the Big Ten? Are they going to be Duke or North Carolina? Probably not. Can they be in that next tier? Yeah, if they're willing to put their money where their mouth is.
Yeah. Maria, what are your thoughts there about, Luke Murray and what he can do at BC if he does get the support and the resources behind him?
I think Luke is phenomenal. I think he's a great recruiter. I think he's a phenomenal X's and O's guy.
Yeah.
I think they got the best of the best in terms of what Boston College got out there. But I think to Joe's point, they got to put a lot of money behind it, right? So he can go out and get the players that he needs and wants to get to change the program around. And to his point, I think, Boston College hasn't been a top tier program in a really, really long time. So I think they got to be patient with Luke because it's not going to happen overnight. But I think to Joe's point, if they can put the money and the resources behind it, I expect him to do phenomenal.
All right. Maria, I know you got to bounce. I'm just going to ask you a quick rapid fire questions. Joe, who do you see? And I know
you asking me or Joe? Because I got to hop off. Ask me something.
No, ask Maria. Ask Maria. Right. I can stay till 11.
Which newcomer will be the loudest or best leader?
Ooh, I want to say the Duke guy.
Yeah, I would say that too. Most likely to leave for the NBA after this season?
Probably Mullins.
Yep. And who do you see that could possibly surprise the fans this season?
Ooh, I think the Seton Hall guy.
Yeah. And
I think the right system and with the right guards around him, I think he could be really good for us.
One word to describe the 2026-2027 Uconn Huskies.
The men or the women?
The men.
One word to describe them.
I'll give you one: potential.
Yeah.
All right. What do you got? What do you got for the women?
For the women, revenge.
Yes. They'll be on a revenge tour.
Tour.
All right. Thank you, Maria. As
All
always.
right, guys. I'll see you. Bye, Joe.
Take care.
Virginia.
You too.
All right. Well, Joe, let's see. Who do you have as the biggest? Which newcomer will be the best leader or make the most impact?
Well, I think Hines will make the biggest impact, but I think the biggest surprise could be the kid from Wofford. If Mahovsky is a shooter the like of Joey Calcaterra or Cam Spencer, then that's a big addition to the offense, especially with Solo not playing.
And then, obviously the NBA. Do you think Mullins?
I think Mullins clearly. Yeah, I think Mullins clearly.
Because he was a mid-first round pick as far as projections go for this year. And we obviously know projections don't mean much, but he was projected then. He could be a potential lottery pick next year, depending on his performance. Correct?
Yeah, and the other thing with that, Steve, is a lot of that depends on who's picking and what their needs are. I mean, if you're in the lottery, the odds are you need a little bit of everything.
And
right?
they changed the rules on the lottery too.
Well, but beside that, as it may, whoever's picking, like Brooklyn doesn't have the same needs as Utah, who doesn't have the same needs as New Orleans, who doesn't have the same needs as Charlotte, So if you're looking for a big man and Duncan Hines decides to come out, then you draft him. I knew his name's not Duncan. That's a joke. If you're looking for a swing man, then you might take a guy the way like Mahenya. I mean, it all depends on the team's needs,
right?
As to who they pick.
Exactly. And as far as anyone on the team that you see surprising fans this season,
that's where I think the kid from Wofford fits in.
What about Ross? You think Ross could
No,
come
I
through?
think we know what you're going to get from Jaden Ross.
Yeah.
I mean, even if he steps his game up a little, I don't think we're going to be surprised because we saw the improvement he made from sophomore year to junior year. So I don't think Jaden's going to take anybody by surprise.
No. He's a defensive guy. He comes in, he gives you solid minutes, but
he's also, yes, he is a defensive guy, Stevie. You're right, but he also showed that he has the capability of making the three, and he's dynamic in the open floor. And I think that's a big. I think that's a big thing.
Yeah, I agree. And one word that you would use to describe the men's team for 2026, 2027, we said potential.
Well, I gave you with Maria. I think they have potential. I think if everything clicks, they could easily, not easily, but they could go back to the Final Four.
Now, do you think as well? I mean, they're playing a very challenging out of conference schedule, but as we've seen with the Big East, I mean, do you think that they have to because they're not?
I think the Big East is going to be a lot better this year.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, I think the Big East is going to be going to be a deeper league.
Who do you see improving the most?
Well, I think DePaul. I think Creighton's going to have a better year. I think DePaul has made inroads under Chris Holden. I think Seton Hall is going to be more consistent this year. I think Villanova is a threat. Certainly St. John's is still going to be up there. I mean, they spent a boatload of money on their roster, and they're not done yet. So I think you might have 6, 7. I would expect Marquette, even though he doesn't believe in the portal. I think Marquette will be markedly better than they were last year when they were still good enough to beat Uconn on the road at the end of the year.
Yeah, that was huge.
So, yeah, I think it's going to be a much deeper league.
So the conference overall should hopefully get 4 to 5 teams in if things go well.
If you're the Big East and you get 5 teams in every year, you should be happy because that's almost half your league.
Yeah, and 3 to 4 teams is probably the measuring stick. That's probably the average that you should be hoping for, correct?
Well, I would say you should hope to get 5 in every year.
Yeah, I know. And it'll be good for the league to see them step up and be competitive across the board. And
the problem is it's not going to mean any more money from the TV contract.
No.
Which is the big thing that we all whine about. Myself included. But yeah, I think if you get let's set the level at 4.5.
Yeah.
Over under 4.5. If you get 5 teams in, I think that's good. If you get 4 or fewer, not so good.
And I mean, you obviously see the 3 teams for sure being St. John's, Uconn, and Nova.
I don't know. I'm not. I'll definitely say Uconn and St. John's, but I think you could have one of a number of teams slide up into that 3 spot, which again would make it a better league.
What has DePaul done to make you think that they're going to improve?
Well, he's a good coach, and he showed market improvement this year. And from what I read, and again, this is all we don't know how these kids are going to perform.
It's all conjecture
until they show up, but it seems like he's got things trending in the right direction. And look, if the Big East could become better in Chicago with DePaul, I mean that helps the conference footprint because really, I mean, ever since DePaul joined the league, they haven't been great.
No,
which is an understatement. You know, they haven't been.
No, they haven't. For the expectations that were put on them, they definitely have not lived up to them. I would agree with you there for sure.
I'm reading an article where it says they have a top 20 class coming in.
Wow. That's impressive. Okay. So he's done a good job. So
they've gotten 3 kids in the portal and hopefully for the league's sake, they do well. They got a kid who averaged 19 a game at Wofford. They have a kid who averaged 11 a game at Tulsa. They've gotten kids from San Diego State, Fresno State. They got a kid from Arizona who played against UConn, and they got a 4-star recruit in this kid Noah Smith. So, good signs.
That's really good for them.
Expect good signs.
And they must have gotten an influx in some money too to be able to bring.
Yes, I would think so. I would think so. Yeah.
And then St. John's is always going to be good. They're always going to be at the top.
It sounds reading the New York papers.
Yeah.
And they got the Freeman kid from Syracuse who can play. So he's going to be a big addition right away. But, it sounds to me they're going to have a lot of international kids on that team this year.
Yes. And
they've gone the international route. So, it's fun to speculate, but we don't know. Until the kids show up on campus in August or in June for preseason workouts, nobody knows anything.
And they did have one key loss. Jason Sannon was a key part of their team.
Well, and the kid who hit the big shots, Dylan Darling, left.
Yeah. But I mean, they always replace kids. I mean, Patino's always going to be active in the portal.
These days they do. Well, they got the money. Mike Reblay or whatever his name is. He's got he bankrolls that program.
I was just surprised that the Sannon kid went to West Virginia, because I just haven't heard much about them basketball wise. But apparently, I mean, it's an
when Bob Huggins was there, they were really good.
Oh yes. No, I know that.
When Huggy Bear was there, they were a
premier team in the Big 12.
They were a good team.
But I mean, it's really just becoming an arms race right now until the NCAA either gets a handle on the rev share and NIL deals. And like I told you about the situation at Nebraska, where the 18 kids are suing because their NIL deals were not approved. So I think that's going to lead to more kids not reporting their NIL deals, which they technically don't have to do. And it's going to lead to tampering. That's what I think the biggest issue with the portal is. When you limit it to 15 days, the kids who do it the right way are the ones that fall behind, because it's very tough to get seen, get recruited, go on visits, and find a place in 15 days.
I think you said the perfect word, Stevie. I think tampering is the big concern.
Oh, it's just gonna run rampant. And then, like we talked about the gambling. I think that because it's so prevalent, because we see the ads for DraftKings everywhere. I just think kids are gonna have disposable income and they're gonna want something, like you said, to do with it. So I hope that they get a handle on it. And I hope the NCAA rules stick. I hope that they're not challenged in court as much as they are, and kids just play. Just play. Forget about the rest. The money's there. You're getting paid. Enjoy your college experience. Don't go to court over everything. That's my biggest thing.
Unfortunately, the only thing you see more than gambling ads on TV are ads for lawyers.
You're 100% right. It is.
Right.
It is true. But
right. And I'm not kicking the cash cow, because I do the voiceover for a prominent firm in our area. So,
yeah. No, I agree. But great show. Great.
Yeah, it was fun to see Conlon.
Yeah, great analysis on the newcomers, and we'll see what happens. A great analysis on the league. It's good to hear that the league was going to improve, and we had a monster audience. So, wow.
And that's another. Speaking about the league, the other thing is who replaces Val Ackerman as the commissioner.
Yeah.
Do they go to somebody who's got a college sports background? Do they go to somebody who's got a television background?
Yeah.
That's going to be interesting.
That's going to be huge. That is, that is critical for the conference to get that right.
There's a lot of people in Uconn Twitter Nation who didn't like Val, but
Yeah.
she was the one who initiated talks with UConn to get UConn back in the Big East. And I
Right.
think people have to remember. I think people should remember that. But
Right.
if they do or not is up to them. I'm not going to twist their arms.
No, it's very critical for the conference to get the right person, because as the changing landscape of college sports continues to evolve, you're going to need someone in there who is able to evolve and move with it. So we'll see what happens. But for the icon, legendary voice of the Huskies, the best of the best, Joe D, Steve Gully, best podcast host in the universe. Remember, when life gives you lemons, don't make lemonade. Take 2 oranges